Lynn, in the Times, incels should see dating coaches to be rehabilitated, says one expert. Tell us about that.
Well, I think there's a lot.
Incel culture is on the rise today in the men's community. Why is this phenomenon happening? What are the core fundamental principles behind it? And how do we find a solution? How can we make men feel purposeful and give them meaning in life again instead of the escalating suicide rates? What role do men need to step up in? And in what way are women helping or hindering men in this process of coming together? So what we have to understand in terms of this incel community is a lot of these guys are very resentful and bitter towards women. I actually had a conversation, a guy messaged me on Facebook earlier today where he shared with me an article about, I'll post it here, 2 male rhinos who killed a female rhino because it didn't want to mate with them. Now, this is an extreme example, but this is the kind of energy that festers inside the incel, that festers inside these men who feel completely disconnected from what's going on in the world today and completely feel like they're losing with women. We have to understand masculine and feminine is a polarity, which means they're 2 opposites that go together. Now, if we have to talk about polarity, if I'm someone who loves cooking and I cook delicious meals and my partner loves eating those meals, we can say we're in a good polarity. Okay, it's differences coming together and it's a win-win. If I'm looking for a personal trainer and there's someone out there who wants to train me and I pay them, that's 2 differences that creates a win-win. So understand that masculine and feminine are 2 different things that create a polarity, that create a win-win. Now, the opposite of polarity is sameness. Okay, it's 2 things that are very similar to each other, and sameness is fine. We need sameness in the universe to work and move in the world. But when it comes to male-female relating, sameness often cancels each other out. It isn't always thriving for a relationship. It can be good to set the agreements of what's happening, but when the female is becoming more like the male and the male is becoming more like the female, that sameness often cancels each other out. And what you'll hear these women describe in a second, I'll play it at some UK talk show, is what they feel is happening in the shifting dating culture and why it's affecting men so much. Let's take a listen.
Media where girls are showing that they're having, successful lives from a much earlier age, and men are feeling left behind. So they no longer feel that they can gratify women, and women are doing a lot for themselves now. So it's like men are wondering, where do I fit in? What can I do for this woman that she can't already do for themselves?
But isn't it really?
And it's really interesting. Like she said, it's like women are doing these things for themselves. They're going out there, they're getting jobs, they're having careers, all this stuff. Wonderful, awesome things. But what she doesn't fail to understand is what she's talking about is the sameness. The things that were associated with the masculine, protection and provision, providing, are now the feminine is now fulfilling that role for itself. But in doing so, which seems like independence and liberation on one front, it's canceling each other out. Now we don't have the cook and the eater. We don't have the personal trainer and the guy who wants to be personal trained. Everyone's now the personal trainer. Everyone wants to be the cook. And it's blending in the sameness that's canceling each other out. And it's making women feel like, why do I even need a man? Okay, for my beautiful analogy here, it's like you got a plug socket that's got a hole in it, and then you've got a plug that goes into the hole. These are different elements, but together they come together and create something better. The masculine is more associated with penetration. Even if you think about reproduction, the man is penetrating, the woman is receptive. The man goes out there and penetrates the world. He conquers the world, he masters the world and brings back his resources to give to his partner, and his partner graciously receives those resources. Understand that masculine and feminine predate human beings. This is not a human thing. Before humans were around, there was masculine and feminine principles. It's a universal principle. Before the earth was even here, it started at the start of creation, masculine and feminine principles. And what we're having today is the masculine and the feminine principles are getting blended together. and it's creating a lot of chaos in relationships. Men aren't winning with women because they feel it's so hard to win with women. Women are getting their own holes filled, excuse the pun there, and they're like, why do I even need a man? So is this really helping relationships? Are women more happy and fulfilled because of it? If they are, and if you're a woman listening to this and you're more happy and fulfilled doing your own thing without needing a man, awesome, happy for you. But if you're a man out there and you're looking for how to win with a woman, look for a woman who actually wants and needs you instead of just trying to be like her new handbag accessory, which we'll hear these women describe in a second. So let's check out what they get into next.
Isn't it really quite simple? As someone who has a 20-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old son who is not an incel, he's absolutely wonderful. Loads of female friends. He's got a girlfriend, you know, and he hasn't got any money or anything like that, but he's just nice to people. He's emotionally intelligent. He knows how to talk to somebody.
It's simple, but clearly there are...
It's so funny there, like you see this all the time, and maybe, like we say, men and women are different, so I might project on women sometimes, but the way women project on men, like she's just sitting there all cheerful, like, I have a son and he's wonderful and he's got a girlfriend, like, you should just be nice and have a little bit of emotional intelligence. And although that can be good advice, do you think these men haven't tried that? You know, why did they get in this hole to begin with? I think it's very dismissive when you hear, oh, just be nice and have a little emotional intelligence. Yeah, it's probably a little bit more difficult than that. And this is why I like it's an article, I think, in the Times in the UK saying dating coaches can actually help men. Now, obviously, perform that role for a lot of men, but there's a lot of other men coaches out there. And I think men need to come to men to learn some of these skills so that they can thrive in relationships, because a lot of men out there aren't winning. And it's okay to say, hey, I'm stuck. I don't know what I'm doing. We have a lot of pride and ego around that. There's a lot of stigma, but in today's world, men need to say, hey, I've reached my limits. I don't know how further I can go. I need to ask for help. That's actually a very good sign. Let's keep going.
Clearly, there are influences. We'll have a look. Look, these are some graphs from the Financial Times showing the ideology gap that is growing between men and women. That gap that you're talking about, where, you know, hopefully logic and reasonable chat would hope to bridge that gap, but it's not working. Look, in South Korea, this, as you can see here, this is a graph that shows liberal tendencies, if you like, and conservative tendencies. In South Korea, women are becoming more liberal. Men are becoming way more conservative. In the US, well, everybody is becoming quite conservative, but, becoming more liberal. Here we go. Women way up in 40% and men becoming more conservative. Germany, less of a divide, but definitely women becoming more liberal. Here in the UK, we have become more liberal as a whole, but still this huge gap between men down here at the bottom in blue and women at the top in red.
Okay, so...
And that's what we see in a lot of Western countries today. I'm originally from Africa, okay, which is considered a Western country. And I live in Asia, not considered a Western country. You don't see so much of these gaps around here. But all those graphs, the UK, the US, Europe, Germany, this liberal trend is exploding in Australia, these kind of places. And these are the men that are most dissatisfied. These are the men that are having the hardest time in the dating sphere. Again, I'm totally all for women having a driver's license and being able to own property and women's rights, amazing stuff. But I'm not for women stepping out of feminine polarity to become more like men and then wondering why things aren't working out in their dating life. You know, I'm for women who want to be in their feminine and men who want to be in their masculine, these universal principles that come together to create something beautiful that they couldn't create on their own. But as we can see, this trend is just increasing. So if you're a man out there and you live in one of these countries, there are women out there who would want to be led by a man in a masculine household where she can bring her beautiful feminine traits and gifts to the table, but don't think you're going to find it on the average woman on the street, because as you saw from those graphs, the trends are going completely in the wrong direction. So I want men to win with women. I want women to win with men. But we have to see that men, and as this article says, Men need help. Okay, go get yourself a coach. I don't care if it's me or someone else. Reach out, learn how to find and balance and become strong in your masculine, and then look for a complementary partner in the feminine. Stop settling for these masculine women where she wears the pants and you walking around on eggshells and she's always disapproving and criticizing of you. I've worked with men like that, and these men's spirits are absolutely crushed. They're not leading in their relationship. They're in a feminine household where the man fears the woman, and this is all too common today. Let's make relationships great again. Not an easy task, but let's give it the best crack we have. What are your thoughts and comments on this topic? I want to hear them down below in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.